Hi, how are we doing? Okay, so it's Sunday, it's time to stretch. This session is recorded ahead of our usual live on Sunday afternoon because I've got work to do basically, and I don't know if I'm going to be available at 5 to do the live session, so I'm getting it ready for you in advance. If you've been with me all week and you've done the sessions this week, what a week we've had. It's been intense. We've done sofa workouts, we've done workouts with tins, we've tried all kinds of different bits and worked incredibly hard. So we're going to use today now 20 minutes or so just for a bit of time. Total difference in intensity. Bring it right down. Easy, gently just stretch everything out, release it out and relax. Because it's Sunday and it's nice, just take time, chill out. Ready to start again tomorrow. Alright, so all I want you to do to begin is to lie on your front. So just nice and steady, lie yourself down. And I want you to put your elbows under your shoulders, prop yourself up. Hips down by the floor. Just lift yourself up as if you were reading a book. Just so we can start a little bit of a stretch off the top of the abs, off the front of the abs. Just open everything back up. Palms down on the floor. Feet down on the floor. And all I'd like you to do from here, push your hands into the ground, lift yourself up just a little bit. And then back down. So we're only going up for a few seconds. We lift it up, try and keep your hips on the floor, and then we come back down. And let's do that again. Just push your hands into the ground, lift it up, little bit of a stretch, and then bring it back down. One more time. Push yourself up, and relax. Okay, then if you bring yourself all the way to the floor, bring your hands back so they're underneath your shoulders. And while we're lying down, let's go straight to work in the front of the thigh. Let's take your right foot, pull it in behind you, hold it with your right hand. You can rest yourself on your left arm, holding the ankle, not the toes or the foot itself, just hold your ankle. Pull your lower leg in towards you. Try and get your heel to your bum. Bit of a stretch through the front of the thigh. And let's push your right hip down into the ground. Push that hip forwards. If it helps, squeeze your bum so as you can push that hip forward. Open the stretch off the front of the thigh and the front of the hip. And just breathe. If it's easing off, try and pull your foot in a little bit closer to you. Still pushing your hip into the ground. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Bring it down, and let's change. So you can rest on your right arm, left foot up, hold your ankle, not your foot, again. And then just pull it into you. Start to feel that stretch off the hip and the front of the thigh. And then push your hip down into the ground. Still pulling that foot in towards you. Just push the hip down, get that stretch. 3, 2, 1, and relax, let it go. Let your feet fall back. Hands round under your shoulders. Push yourself up to all fours. Bring your knees in under your hips. And just rock yourself back. Get your hips back towards your heels. Slide your hands forwards. Come down nice and low into a child's pose. So we can open up a stretch off your lower back. Head down to the floor. And just hold it here for a moment.
Just try and feel any tension around your shoulders, around your upper back, around your lower back, pulling into your hip. Try and feel that tension just easing off as the muscles relax and open up. And then slowly bring yourself back up to all fours, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, and just arch your back up and over. Take your chin into your chest. And then roll it back. Lift your chest, lift your head, arch your back, push it down. So you get that bend in the lower back, lift your chest. Feel that stretch coming across the front of the abs, the front of your tummy. And then tuck your chin into your chest. Arch yourself up and over again. Try and feel it stretch this time around the upper back, around that curve of the spine behind your ribs. And then one more time, let's drop it down, roll it back, lift your chest. Just aim for that stretch through the front of your tummy. And then bring it back to the center. So let's go back to that child's pose. Push your hips back to your heels, bring yourself forwards. Come down low to the ground. Now we're going to keep your right hand in place. Put your left hand underneath, turn your shoulder. Still trying to keep your hips by your heels, your head down to the floor. Just try and twist across so we can stretch and mobilize the spine. And then bring it back to the center. Take that left hand out in front. And let's take your right hand under your left arm. Still hips to heels, turned through the shoulders. Just let that stretch pull across the body gently. And then back to the center. Push your hands forward as far as you can. Still keeping your hips back by the heel. So we let it stretch right up your back from the hip to your shoulders. And then bring yourself up to all fours. And we're going to take your right foot up by your right hand. Straighten the left leg. And then pick your right hand up. Look up to that hand so you can twist and turn into it and stretch through the hip, through the body. And then bring it back down. Right hand to the floor, left knee to the floor. Put your right foot back. Bring your left foot forwards. Take your weight, so your right knee comes off the floor. Left hand up. Twist and turn up towards it, let it stretch through the hip. And then bring that hand back to the floor. Bring your knee down. Let's do it all once more. So, bring that left foot back. Right foot forwards. Take your weight up. And then take that right hand up. This time try and focus on bringing your hips down a little bit lower. If you want to bring, or if you need to bring that left knee to the ground, you can. But look up to that right hand. Look up, turn around. and then bring it back down. Hand to the floor, knee to the floor, right foot back, left foot forwards, lift yourself up, and then look towards your left hand. Let it stretch through the hip. Again, if you need to, you can bring your knee to the floor. And then come back to the center. Push your foot back. Just sit yourself back briefly. Quick stretch on the lower back. Bring yourself back up. And now we're going to come round. Let's move this camera down slightly. So now we're going to come to seated with your feet together. Keeping the soles of the feet together. Hold your ankles. Just using your forearms, press down gently on the inside of the thigh. You might get your knees out to the side slightly. They might go most of the way down. They might get to the floor. It's your range of movement. Work as you are comfortable to. So you press down gently just to feel a slight stretch on the inside of the thigh, on that groin area. A little stretch here, and then bring yourself back up, release the stretch, and let's go back into it. Bring it down, gently press. We're not forcing the movement, we're just using the weight of your arms really and gravity to push into it, to open that motion up. And then lift yourself up. Let's take your right leg out straight. Left foot still in at the center. And slide your right hand down your right leg to hold your calf, your ankle, or the sole of your foot. However far forwards you are comfortable to go. If you need a slight bend in that knee for a bit of support, just to take some of the stress off the leg, you can. And then as it eases, try and get your knee down to the floor. So lean into it, bring yourself forwards. And then let's take your left hand forward. Reach towards that front foot, that front hand. If you're not comfortable there, reach to your calf, your ankle, your foot, your knee, whatever you're comfortable. However far forward you can go. Still trying to keep that front leg, that right leg now, as straight as you can. Lean into it. Feel it stretch through the back of your leg. A little bit across your lower back as well. If you can get your chest down to your leg, fantastic. If you can't, fantastic. You go as far as you're comfortable with. Work your range of movement. This is my range. Yours could be more, it could be less. Yes? And then slowly slide yourself back up. And let's change sides. Right foot in, left foot forwards, same thing. Slide your left hand down your leg. Reach for your calf, your ankle, your foot, your toes, whatever you're happy to reach down to. Reach down, get that stretch. And then when you're ready, again, if you need to, bend your knee slightly, and as it eases, you can get that knee towards the floor. When you're ready, bring your right hand down the leg, calf, ankle, foot, knee, thigh, whatever you need it to go. So you can pull in slightly, feel a bit of a stretch, but you're still working your range of movement. Just hold that stretch, it will start to ease off. Keeping that left leg as straight as you can. And then release it. Slowly just slide yourself back up. Come back up to sitting up nice and tall. One more time, bring your feet into the middle. And just try and push that little bit of a stretch. Feet together. using your forearms, resting on your legs, trying to get your knees to the ground. And relax. Just take your feet forwards into a straddle. How wide you go is up to you. It doesn't need to be really wide. All we're looking at doing is just sliding forwards. But as you go forwards, think about keeping your chest as up and open as you can. You lean forwards. If you want to bend your knees a little bit to allow you to go further, do it. We're just trying to stretch your lower back here, and then once you find your range, push your legs down. Feel that stretch open a little more through the back of the legs. Try and keep your chest open, bring it forward rather than just coming down to the ground. We're trying to go in front. Okay, again, this is your range of movement. You might be enough that just your hands on the floor. That's fine. You might be reaching right out. You might be lying down with your chest on the floor. I'm not. Work to your range, feel it stretch. Still try and get your legs as straight as you can. Try and get the backs of your knees onto the ground. And then take your hands out to the side. So your hands are going to go just under your calf or your Achilles. Again, it gives you that range to work with, and you can pull your chest forwards. You can push your arms against your legs just to help to bring you into that stretch. This will stretch and open the groin area, the inside of the thigh. It'll bring you forwards a bit. Keep that chest lifted still, come on. Don't just arch and drop into it. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay. From here, let's come up to kneeling. Right knee under your hip, left foot forwards. Lean onto that left leg. Keep your head up, your chest lifted. Stay up nice and tall. Just drop into that stretch. Try and feel it from the hip down through the front of the thigh. So we can stretch out the hip flexor. As it eases, try and drop a little bit lower, a bit further forwards. Really let it stretch from the hip down into the thigh. If you want to stretch the thigh a bit more, pick your right foot up off the floor. You can always reach back and hold that foot, hold that leg up. So now we're stretching from the hip towards the knee, right the way down the front of the leg. Trying to open the whole thing up. And relax, bring that foot down, push yourself back. Let's change onto the other leg. So we lean it forwards onto that front leg, hip pushed forwards. Head up, chest lifted. Just start that stretch. Gently release it. If it's easing, drop a little bit further forwards. If you need to open the front of the thigh, pick your foot up. Holding the ankle, not your foot. Keep your hip forwards, your chest lifted. Just let that stretch develop. As it eases, try and go a little bit further forwards. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Let that foot down. If you were holding it, push yourself back. I'd like you to come now, hands in the middle, just come into a low squat. Just sit yourself down nice and low, hips as low as you're comfortable with. You might get them close to the ground. You might be part way. Again, it's your range of movement. If you want your feet wider or narrower, as long as you've got your heels on the floor, that's fine. That is the focus here. Or your main input, main kind of coaching point for this is have your heels on the ground. So we can get that little bit of a stretch still around the thigh. We can stretch through the lower back. We can open up the hips. We can relieve tension and stress through the hip. For everything we've done this week, squats, lunges, deadlifts, curtsy lunges, a lot of leg work, some jumping, some running, some cardio work, even the core work that we've done.
We've done a lot to include the hip. It's had a bit of a beating this week. So let's try and ease it off. So hold this for a moment or two more. Just breathe. And then bring your hands to the floor for support. Just bring yourself round to lying down on your back. And we're going to take your left leg out straight. Your right knee up in the air. And then pull that right knee across the body. With your hand on top, just let gravity kind of drop you over to get your knee towards the floor. Keeping your head and shoulders on the ground as well. And you might feel that stretch just opening up, your knee getting closer to the ground. Just spend a few moments here. This will stretch around the hip, this will stretch the lower back. Keep your right hand on the floor. Try and keep your right shoulder on the floor. And then slowly bring it back to the center. Take your right foot out, right leg straight. Pick your left leg up and turn that across to try and get your left knee towards the floor. Left hand still on the ground, left shoulder trying to keep that on the floor as well. Your right hand on top of your leg. Just letting gravity do the work. Slowly stretching and opening up that muscle. Opening up the joint movement. Putting that motion back in the body. Nice and relaxed. And then let's bring it back to the center. Pull both your knees in towards your chest. Pull it in nice and tight. Just feel it stretch around the lower back. If your hip comes off the floor, that's fine. Pulling it in will loosen the lower back off. And all I want you to do from here is to slowly, gently start rocking yourself backwards and forwards. It's like a tiny micro massage on your lower back as you roll back and forth. Each time we're going to try and come up a little bit further, a little bit higher, but we're not going to rush it. Just gently rocking back and forth. And then we come up to being sat up. And we're done. So that was 20 minutes or so. Gently trying to mobilize the lower back, the hips, the hamstrings, all the muscles that have taken a lot of strain this week through the workouts. Just trying to open up the movements, get back to being a little bit more supple, a little bit more movable. Ready for the rest of the workouts to come. So, that's the Sunday stretch done. Thank you for being with me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow for our normal sessions. Bye-bye.